I would like to add on to something. Um, you mentioned a band that I think uh, is an amazing group of people. Tool. Um, they're a band that I've admired since Undertow. Um, and when I first got into them, I fell in love with what they were doing because they were different. They didn't sound like anybody else. They weren't a bunch of morons. They were smart metal, smart rock, whatever you want to fucking call it, art rock. But I think that when Schism came out, there was a certain amount of people that came out of the woodworks who were like, oh yeah, this band's great, when originally they hated them. And I think that Tool, being one of the best bands of our generation, have, I think they're a little overrated. Sorry. I love seeing them live. I've seen them twice. They're a great fucking live band. They're smart. They know how to play their instruments. Maynard's amazing lyrical ability is fucking phenomenal. So don't get me wrong. I love Tool. Okay, I've had my share of Tool shirts. I have every one of their CDs, and I'll continue to buy their CDs. Although I thought 10,000 Days kind of sucked, but that's just me. Um, but uh, but yeah. So that's one thing I wanted to comment on. Also, um, indie rock and mainstream rock. Good and bad points. There's a lot of. Well, I mean, I did my music rant earlier today that uh, that just expressed how I felt about music these days. And no matter if it's indie rock or mainstream rock, um, music sucks these days. Bottom line, nobody puts any heart and soul in anything anymore. No one ever wants to try to get anything out. Nobody wants to actually do what they really feel like doing. They want to make sure that it's low key and that it's okay for everybody else to listen to because they don't want to make anybody mad. Which rock and metal in general, since the beginning of it being invented and being come up with, was a way to get out whatever emotion you wanted to and fuck anybody who didn't want to hear you. Um, and I've always taken pride in that, being a musician and playing, you know, metal and stoner rock and whatever. And and I think that yes, I do. I will say this though. Most mainstream rock and mainstream metal and mainstream music in general does suck. Bottom fucking line. They're a fucking machine. Now, there are some bands that are mainstream that I do like. I'm still an avid Slipknot fan. I've been a fan since their first major release, the self-titled album. I love them. They're a great live band. I've hung out with a couple of guys in the band. They're cool. They're awesome guys. Um, and they're still heavy as fuck, and they're one of the most famous bands out there in the metal world, I guess. New metal, whatever you want to call it. Bands like that, that I like and I have respect for, but there's bands out there like Nickelback. I hate Nickelback. Now, I knew about Nickelback when they were just an indie band. Their first album, Leader of Men, um, wasn't bad. It was okay. It had its ups and downs. Um, and as soon as they got a major record deal, and This Is How You Remind Me came out, then boom, because record labels noticed that it immediately made girls take off their panties. I mean, that's basically what it was, and that's what most of their fucking fan base is little 14-year-old little girls, or 20-year-old girls who have no sense of what creativity is. Um, but whatever. If you like it, you like it. I've got a lot of friends that like that shit. I get on to them all about it, all the time about it. No big deal. They make fun of me. I make fun of them. It's just how it goes. But anyway, um, I think there's a lot of good indie bands out there that um, don't get the recognition they deserve, due to the fact that people just think that if a band hasn't made it, then they immediately suck. And that's not true. I know a lot of bands who are on small labels they kick ass. They need to be known, but they choose to be on the underground because it's a better fan base than the underground. I will admit this, because a lot of people don't understand the underground scene. The underground scene isn't for people who are just trying too hard. I'm sure there are some bands out there that try too hard to stay underground and to stay, away from the mainstream and the norm. But underground fans respect each other more and respect the music more than a mainstream band who has a big flashy, like, stage setting and all that shit like that. Something more intimate about being an underground band. When you play it at venues, it's not very big places. It's places that can only pack like 100 something people, if that, and maybe only like 50 people were there, but those 50 people give you, like, 100%. It's just, that's just how it is, and they respect it. They understand it. That's where small followings can come from. If that band makes it, then so be it. But there's plenty of bands. I'm from Kentucky, and I'm sure that when I say that, everyone's like, oh, what do you know about music? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, I don't just listen to metal. I listen to all kinds of shit. I listen to anything from Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, and Slayer, and Pantera, and stuff like that. And I also listen to David Allan Coe, Johnny Cash, all the Hank Williams, 1, 2, and 3. Merle Haggard. And I like old school rap, I don't really care for rap. I think rap is crap, and that'll be another... That'd be a rant for later on, I think. And I'm pretty sure most of you that would watch this response would probably agree with me on that. The fact that old school rap meant something to people. Old school hip hop, it was telling a story about, struggles and shit from a perspective that a lot of us have no idea about. And now it's all about bitches and hoes and having more money and being crunk. That shit's it's false. It's fucking bullshit. And that's why you gotta have these motherfuckers out here wearing all their big chains and shit, and they spend more money on their fucking cars and the chains that are around their neck than taking care of their 5,000 kids. Bottom fucking line. So fuck you. But and that's not me being racist at all. Just for the record, that's me being honest. And that's with white people, black people, whatever. But I'm not getting on that. It's fucking. I go off on tangents when I'm ranting. It's weird. But anyway, a lot of good bands out there. There's a lot of bad bands out there. What I was getting at, though, is I noticed that in living in Kentucky, that it's really hard to find a good scene. We actually have a decent underground scene when it comes to punk and metal. And what's funny, there's a lot of underground bands that are local around here that sound like they're mainstream, but they're still underground. Whatever, It's like... There's a band called The Infected, who they've been around forever. They're great guys. Used to practice with a band in the same place they used to practice, and they're awesome. And they could probably actually get really famous, because they're known all over the place on the underground level. They choose to stay on their indie record label, and that's fine. That's cool. I respect that. But and I don't know. I guess I might have kind of forgotten why I was responding to this, but I think mainly just because of the Tool thing, because I think too many people hold them too high up, but I still love them, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it goes back and forth, whatever. Mainstream sucks, indie sucks, mainstream's good, indie's good. It's with whatever any kind of music. It doesn't matter. But if somebody puts heart and soul into something, then give them the benefit of the doubt. Even if they're not your kind of music, if they seem like they actually love what they're doing, they're not doing it for all the wrong reasons, maybe give them a chance. And if you don't like them, so be it. There's a lot of bands out there I fucking hate, but I respect them for the fact that they actually do what they're doing, and they actually enjoy playing what they're doing. I don't respect them for the fact that they don't play their own songs and shit like that, but... as a musician, you can't just be like, well, that band sucks. I hate that band. Blah, 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 blah. Because a lot of people do that shit, and I've always hated that. And also to comment on the group of friends in high school that would pick bands to like, and if somebody else liked them, they didn't like them. I had those friends too, and I could barely stand those fucking people. But because I hated that. If you like it, you like it. Fuck everybody else. All right, bottom line. Unless they were Limp Bizkit fans. If they were Limp Bizkit fans, then you had a right to hate them. Because, well, let's face it, Limp Bizkit blows. But that's like an old school fucking thing there, so I wouldn't go there. But I hope I haven't gone into too many tangents. I hope I actually have made sense. If not, I'm sure I'll get all kinds of fucking like bullshit for it, because occasionally I don't make sense sometimes, but I'm trying to make sense. Does it make sense? Of course it don't.